Welcome back to the Food Podcast presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union on the Trib Live Podcast Network. This is Brian Goolish, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Food Bank, stepping in for our wonderful host, Krista Johnson. For this special interview segment this week in Pittsburgh, we have the superstars of AEW in town, All Elite Wrestling, for two shows at the Peterson Event Center. Wednesday night, Dynamite. Friday night, the debut of Rampage live on TNT. And joining us at this time on the podcast is the world's strongest man, and he indeed is that. World record holder one time at the deadlift, 900 pounds. And to put that into perspective, we moved 55 million pounds of food in and out of the food bank doors the first 12 months of the pandemic. That is 61,000 reps of a 900-pound deadlift from the world's strongest man. And also joining us, Captain Shawn Dean of AEW. Both are here to talk a little bit about the impact that they're able to make in the community through their community efforts with AEW Wrestling. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
So, Mark, I'll start with you. And we talked about this briefly off air, but just tell me a little bit why this is important for you to give back to an organization like a food bank.
Start with the good news and stop talking, doctor. Man, it's really important. Like, you know, I grew up in a impoverished environment. I remember my mother not eating until me and my brother had enough. And when I was introduced to the world of what the food banks present, I was all in, and no pun intended. But I definitely wanted to be able to be a help, bring notoriety, attention, use my platform to have people enlightened about what the food bank world is and how to be a volunteer. That was my thing initially. I wanted people to be able to volunteer, and I just supported it 100% because I mean it's one thing for an adult that's working hard, trying to support their families to be hungry and not feel like they're providing enough, but it's another thing for a kid to go without eating. So that's why I'm involved.
And we filled a lot of the superstars who are here today at the food bank in on the impact that we made during the pandemic, but just in general, 96,000 children in southwestern Pennsylvania who are food insecure. That's 1 in 5 kids in the 11-county service area we serve. So
it's too many.
Too many indeed. So pivoting over to Shawn, Captain Shawn Dean, talk to me a little bit about, if you have a story in general growing up about food insecurity or knowing someone who's food insecure, but just the work that AEW does as a whole in the community with nonprofit organizations.
Yes, I do have a story similar to Mark. I grew up in Chicago, Southside, Inglewood, and I remember going to a park district or something like that just to eat. And it wasn't just because, you know, we didn't have the food. It was just that was where we could get the food from, you know, with like my mom and dad, they're working really hard. We had 6 siblings in the house, and, you know, you look forward to, you know, sometimes food isn't always available with that many mouths to feed. So to be able to go to a park district or somewhere where we can get means of food, summer camps, day camps, things like that, it was readily available for us. And as I got older, I just didn't want to have other people have to experience that. So I donated a lot of my time to the food bank depositories and things like that. And like I was saying, I used to be an assistant manager for grocery chains where I would make sure that the food that we had was donated to those things, and just paid extra special attention to that because I felt like those are the things that were needed. And the work that AEW is doing now in the community with nonprofit organizations is very important. You know, we want to make sure that we use our platform and raise awareness for things like that, whether it's the food bank, veteran things, homelessness, anything like that, where we can raise awareness on those small things that sometimes get forgotten about. Our platform is there to make sure that we bring a light and shed a light on that.
Yeah, we are super thrilled and excited and fortunate to have the superstars of AEW here today, not only to volunteer and engage with our volunteers at the food bank, but just to help us create an awareness for our mission and the platform you provide us. We have, you know, mainstream media here today, social media presence as well. So again, we thank you both for being here, and hopefully next time you're in town, we can make this a regular occurrence.
Most definitely.
Anything else you want to talk about, Mark, before?
You know what? The AEW, excuse me, AEW started our community division, and we are reaching out. I will also send you the information to post anytime y'all need us. We don't have to be in town to support. Like, we could do everything for your media and for this podcast. Like, this is something that we try to do on a regular basis. We want to be regular. We don't want to be, once or twice a year. So definitely keep in contact with us, and we'll send you that information.
I've got big goals. I've already talked with some other people in the organization about, we're one of 200 Feeding America food banks. Why can't we take this to the national level? And Hunger Action Month is September. And maybe every Hunger Action Month we can have AEW and Feeding America collaborate on some awesome messaging on the platform that you guys have. So, yeah, we thank you enough. We'll definitely keep you in mind there when it comes back to being involved with the podcast moving forward. But, again, the platform you provide us, the awareness that we have, whether it's today in Pittsburgh or any other time, we thank you, and on behalf of other food banks and nonprofit organizations that you support, we thank you for that as well. So that's Mark Henry, Captain Shawn Dean, AEW Wrestling. They're still in town this week. I don't know when you'll exactly hear this podcast, but Friday night, tomorrow night at the Peterson Event Center for the debut of AEW Rampage on TNT. Thanks for listening. Join us next week. You're listening to the Food Podcast presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union on the Trib Live Podcast Network.